You're listening to the Courtyard Club Call by the Scarf Bagara War, part of the Talksport fan network, by county fans, for county fans.
Hello everybody and welcome to yet another Courtyard Club Call brought to you by the Scarf Bagara War team. Today we will be talking about the home draw with Charlton Athletic. I'm Jimmy Harmer and I'm joined by Dan as always. Hi Dan, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. We're getting through another weekend, only a few more to go before the end of the season.
Indeed. And Dave Whitehead joins us tonight as well. Hi Dave.
Good evening.
Great to have you on, buddy. So we will be talking about the frustrating, I would say, 0-0 draw. But let's hear what Dave had to say, shall we?
I'd love to sit here or stand here and say it was a game of little quality. I think it was a game of zero quality. Yeah. I think that it was a really, really poor game for two teams that are much, much better than that. Reminded me of a playoff type game where I get it's difficult, but players on both teams weren't really brave enough to be the one that maybe made the mistake that led to something. And yeah, that wasn't a good watch. Not an enjoyable watch at all.
Not a good watch. And I mean, he hit the nail on the head for me. No one was brave enough, certainly in that first half. For me, it was very much playing the percentages and not doing it very well. But Dan, take us through the team to begin with, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, no, so there was a few changes from obviously the midweek game. There was 5 players that came into the team and 5 players that went out. So the players quickly that went out were Torre, Moxon, Cosgrove, Noyle and Connolly. And the players that came into the starting 11 was Rydell, Norwood, Wootton, Macca and Will Collar. So formation we'll go through in a minute, but I had the starting 11 was Corey Adai, Southam Hales, Brad Hills, Ethan Pye, Ryan Rydell. Midfield of Norwood and Bates. Slightly in front of them, Collar and Camps, and a Laffey and Wootton up front. So formation-wise, it was, I think John Kieran described it as a 4-2-2-2. On the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, then the two sort of like in the middle of the midfield and the front two were Camps and Collar, and I had them sort of not directly as like central, but just a little bit sort of not playing as wingers, but just sort of occupying a little bit more wider than the two in front and the two behind them. But yeah, it was a little bit of a different formation. I was expecting to see a lot more forward endeavour from Macca and Rydell, and unfortunately, we just did not see it.
Dave, do you think that this was something forced on him due to injuries or people out of form, or do you think he went with this formation to counter Charlton? And let's not forget, I think they'd only lost twice in 17 games or something before they came to Edgeley Park.
Yeah, they've been on a decent run, haven't they? I think he's just obviously he kind of picks a formation for every single game, doesn't he? And obviously he'll have done his own work, obviously, so he'll have sat there and looked and watched tapes, and he's chosen that as his main sort of key to unlock their lock. And well, it didn't really happen there very much, did it?
No, I mean it's interesting that we had Connolly on the bench, didn't we?
Yeah.
Have you heard anything sort of injury wise for Connolly? Because again, I mean you've got 2 centre backs there. So Pye's 22, only just 22 as well, and then Hill's obviously on loan from Norwich. I think he's 20. Am I right in saying that? So
2021, yeah,
2021. So 2 young centre backs, and I'm going to say I thought they played really well. In fairness,
yeah, Brad Hills is 20. Yeah, they look solid. They look like seasoned pros, to be honest. And obviously, the way the referee was letting the game go on, that was the sort of game that Brad Hills was smiling like a Cheshire cat for. He seemed to really enjoy the physicality of the game. As the referee was sort of letting a lot of it go, so he was in his element for me. But yeah, no, the central 2 in defence, I thought, really, really did well. It was unfortunate. It was just the wide players. I think they got stuck in between no man's land, really, of pushing on forward and trying to attack and getting crosses in, but also not too much looking behind them and worrying about what defensive duties they've got as well.
If you play four at the back, Dave, though, you really don't want both of your fullbacks to be caught upfield. So I can sort of see why they ended up like that. Maka had a disappointing game. I think he would probably say that himself. But how do you think the first half ended up playing out? Then do you think we put enough on them with how we set out, or do you think it was a bit more of a cancellation out jobby?
I think it was just exactly that. Yeah, it was like two teams that had basically come, like Dave Challoner said, it was just a case of nobody wanted to win, no one wanted to lose. It kind of was like exactly as he said. It was kind of like a playoff like first leg game. It was just feeling each other out. Nobody wanted to grab it by the scruff of the neck and just take it. I mean, we did put some good moves together in the first half, but we just seemed like we were just scared to just take that opportunity and proper go for it.
I was proper disappointed with Charlton, Dan, because I mean, my dad's a Charlton fan. He's actually a county Charlton fan, so he lives up north, but he's from down south, so he's got a county season ticket. But he's a massive Charlton fan, and I was expecting. I mean, he told me he wanted a draw, so yeah, fine. But I was expecting a lot more from them. They were disappointing, and I think what disappointed me the most, and I think what disappointed Dave the most, is that they didn't really lay a glove on us, and we couldn't take advantage of that. Sometimes you get beat, don't you, by a team that plays you off the park or plays better than you. But whether it was the 12:30 kickoff that maybe, and that they'd come up from London, I don't know. But they were so flat as a team, not just first half, but the whole game.
I think everything was flat. I mean, John Kieran kept on commentating how flat the atmosphere as well was in Edgley Park. It was frustrating. We've played worse than that this season and won the game. And I just felt that it was like you say, beforehand, Charlton were the form team really in the division. A lot of momentum behind them. And I was a little bit weary about it. But after the game, it was like you said, the frustration, because it was one of them games that you thought just it needed a little bit of quality that we have got and we have shown, and we could have won that game 2-0. For me, and we've, like I say, we've played worse than that, and we've won games this season. So that was just the frustration part of it. At the end of it, it's like that game was there for us to really sort of grab hold of and take it to them. Because they weren't as much as we built them up. They weren't. I don't know if they had an off day or they bit of stage fright or whatever, but they weren't probably the best team that's come to Edgley Park this season.
Yeah, nowhere near it. I mean, there was a lack of urgency, Dave, which I think started with Adai, and I mean we sponsor him on the podcast, and he's got a lot of good qualities, but in that first, and in fact, he changed in the second half. But in the first half, he was dawdling on the ball. He was letting them get back into their shape.
Just wanted somebody to run in towards him to make him pick the ball up, and they were more than happy to just have it at his feet. And then he only sort of picked it up once the crowd started getting on his back a bit, didn't he? And then he just got rid of it quick after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it permeated through the whole team, that, and I guess we needed half time. But let's talk about the chances in the first half. And to be honest, I can't remember that many, but according to FotMob, we had 62% possession to their 38. We had an XG of 0.2, and that was from 6 shots. So an average of 0.03 on our shots, which I think tells us everything that we need to know, that we didn't really create anything of note. Dan, I mean, I think the only one that I can think of was when we created quite a good move where I think Collar passed it in or crossed it into Wootton, and he headed it back across goal, and it was just a bit too close to their keeper with Tanto running in. I think that was probably our best
And that
from
might
what
have
I can
been
remember, the best chance.
Yeah, well, Tanto had a couple of good runs with the ball. Didn't get a shot away, but he was a threat. You could see he was a threat in behind. And obviously there was the penalty claim as well, which I don't think was, like I said, it's for me it's a coming together. And if that was given against us, I would be furious, to be honest. So I didn't think it was a penalty. But yeah, like you say, it was just like a total stalemate, really.
Mm. So, anything else from the first half, guys, that we can remember or want to talk about? Otherwise, we'll move into the second, which I think was a bit better.
Other than Hills and Adai having a bit of a spat at each other, because Hills kind of jumped up, missed it, it dropped, and then I think they both kind of looked at each other and was like, well, why didn't you take charge? And, well, you should have done it. And I don't know. And then they sort of just agreed to disagree, sort of shook hands a little bit, high-fived, and then went, all right, let's get on with it. So, no harm done.
Yeah, I'll tell you what was interesting again. So, I mean, we talked about this last week, but again, Norwood had a go at Adai and he was sort of shaking his head. So, whilst that sort of argument was going on, Norwood was like, Corey, you've got to come for that ball. So there's definitely something not quite right there with the team and how they think Corey sort of commands his box. But second half, he came for definitely one corner, one cross. He commanded his box way, way better. And you know what? As a fan base, I think that if he comes for it and he fucks up, I think we'd be far happier for him just trying to come for it. And okay, you fucked it, but at least you're trying to make your height count.
Yep.
I think what frustrates us is that he just stays there and doesn't bother coming.
Yeah. It's mental. The guy could literally take a ball at 8-9 feet in the air, and like, you know, he just doesn't. It is frustrating watching him, and and honestly, I so much want him to be so good, and he's just not. Like,
do you think
I'm not bashing him. Don't get me wrong. He's got a difficult job. He's come in to replace Ben, which, let's be honest, everybody's going to love Ben no matter what, And I just want him to be so good, but there's just little things. I don't think the defense trusts him either, And the communication, it's clearly not there because of the amount of times that they do end up having a bit of a row with Norwood or the centre halves and stuff like that. But, second half, completely different. He come out, he was more commanding. Whether or not that's because he can't hear people in the Cheadle and, berating him or something, I don't know. It's just weird, but I so much want him to succeed. I really, really do.
But in that first half, there were definitely too many long balls. So even when he had sort of decided to pick the ball up, faffing around for about 20 seconds. Be interesting next season with the 8-second rule, how that sort of affects what he does. But still far too many long balls for my liking into Wootton. Very disjointed. And as Dave said on that little clip that I played, just weren't brave enough on the ball. There were a couple of times that Corey popped it into Lewis Bate, actually, and his touch let him down. His pass let him down, didn't he? He didn't quite have his radar in that first half, Lewis. Not so.
I think both Norwood and Lewis Bate weren't their finest games by any means. I thought they a lot of endeavour, but just, like I say, the word we'll go back to is quality, and they just lacked that quality. And just set pieces is another one of my bugbears from this game. I just thought we were an absolute dog on set pieces. We gone from when Fraser was in the team looking like a threat and looking like we could score a goal in every game with set pieces to now absolutely awful, in my opinion, on set pieces.
Which is surprising when you consider how good Norwood is on his right foot, Rydell is on his left foot. You have got the option for Bate as well, potentially, to be on set piece duty. I mean, they are players that can supposedly whip decent balls in.
And you had Moxon when he came on, took some corners as well. So obviously he's obviously showing a bit of quality to take corners. But yeah, I just thought, like you say, that centre midfield, even when Moxon come on, we still didn't really control it. We didn't have that quality. And me and Toby were talking, obviously, during that second half, and we just thought that was actually a game there for Nick Powell. If he was obviously fit, the quality of Nick Powell would have absolutely ran that show, I thought. And that's, a player that we really need to get back, because I think he could be the difference. And we're going to have a lot of games like this now, between now and the end of the season, where teams are just going to, every game's like a playoff final or playoff game, as Dave Challoner said. And we're going to need, like I say, that little bit of je ne sais quoi in Nick Powell and unlock the door for us.
He's been out a long time, though, hasn't he? Because
since Lincoln.
Since Lincoln, yeah. What's
Yeah.
that? 4 or 5 months?
He was he was out, wasn't he? And then he came back, did a little couple of cameos, and then he came back
Looked
against
brilliant.
Lincoln. Yeah, he looked unbelievable against Lincoln. Set up that absolute splendid goal for Tanto, and then went off 10 minutes later and never to be seen again. Well, apart from telling stories on World Book Day.
Yes. Which he did very well, I thought, in fairness. That is not an easy gig, is it? Let's face it. So I think he did very well.
But Dave has sort of said that both him and Fraser are obviously expected back at some point in March. And like you say, that can't come quick enough for me, getting Nick Powell. Because even, like you say, the last 20 minutes, him coming on in that game would have been, I think, the little quality that he has, just to rather finish something off or find that pass, like you say, like he did against Lincoln for Tanto, off the top, like the outside of his foot. That's what it just missed, that for me, that on Saturday.
Let's go through the second half then. So no subs at half time. And then Wootton had a couple of good chances. 46 minutes, forced a great save from their keeper, low down to the keeper's right. Really good save, actually. And he pushed it wide enough. And was Tanto, Dave, maybe a little bit on his heels, or a little bit ball watching, maybe, or is that unfair?
Possibly, but if you watched, he kind of fell over, so he might have just stumbled as he was kind of anticipating it coming down. But it's what it is, isn't it?
And then a brilliant bit of improvisation on 52 again from Wootton, where he sort of span and sort of hooked his right foot round the ball, and it smacked against the top of the bar. Keeper was not saving that. And it was starting to become one of those, I'm not sure we're going to score today. A bit like Cambridge.
Stay here till Wednesday. Still not happening.
Did you feel that both at one, I don't know if you've seen the highlights now, but we sort of obviously watched the stream of it, and it just felt that both of them chances were more like half chances. I mean, like I say, that Wootton one, if he did get it in where he's sort of flicked it in on the wrong side of his foot, would have been absolutely a splendid goal. But it was nothing more than a half chance that sort of come his way. And like you say, the stats sort of bore that. We've said about all season about our conversion rates from shots at goal to shots on target to goals scored. Well, we had 12 shots on target and 12 shots and only one on target. When I think it's probably, apart from Wickham, where I don't think we actually had a shot on target all game when at Wickham at home, that's probably our worst sort of stats on that, shots on target compared to shots that we had all season, to be honest. So like I say, I thought them chances that weren't, and they're sort of created by himself, to be honest, out of nothing, half chances, and unlucky with both, really, because I thought they would have been splendid if he put them in.
So 52 minutes, Noyle came on for Maka. As I said earlier, it wasn't one of Maka's best games, but I do think that when he's asked to play right back, he's maybe not as effective as when he's wing back, because he's obviously got more defensive duties to be thinking about. So it does tend to sort of blunt him going forward. And I thought Rydell, in fairness to him, had a really good game. He was the guy getting forward more. And some of these crosses, as we know, was just absolute quality. What do we think of their numbers? Was it number 7? I can't remember what he was called now. Dreads. But he's a right menace, and he kept on diving as well. He was like proper Premier League diver type
Was he the one that Brad Hill smashed?
Was it Yeah, it might have been
Campbell.
Tyrese somebody.
Campbell.
Tyrese Campbell. Yeah. Him.
Some tackle off Hill's that though.
Yeah.
Just threw himself right into that. I loved it. I was like, deserves man of the match just for that.
Yeah.
He was
He's
only
old school defender, isn't he, actually, Hills? You don't see too many young players like that anymore.
Full-blooded tackle, that was belting. Left him sprawled all over the floor. Loved it. Great tackle.
And in fairness to the referee, I think Dave mentioned something about consistency with refs, and I think it's between refs, because the ref yesterday was super consistent. He let everything go, like any sort of physicality.
Absolutely everything.
It was, wasn't it? It was fine. Yeah. Whereas I think Dave's argument is that last weekend, when obviously we conceded it was Northampton, wasn't it? That I'm thinking of.
Tuesday.
Free kick. Like that referee would not have given that header against obviously their guy as a free kick to them. And I think, it's this, you're almost sort of managing your players' physicality sort of in the game. It's like, right, 5 minutes in, this referee is giving nothing. Right, we'll step up our physicality. It shouldn't be like that, should it? You shouldn't have to sort of try and gauge what the ref's going to do. They should all be the same.
To be honest, the referee on Saturday, he wouldn't even stop for the injury, would he?
No.
If that incident happened in the Northampton game, you'd be looking at the ref, asking him, "Can you stop the game? There's an injured player on the floor," because he was quite happy to let the game flow, play out. I mean, like you said, Brad Hills was smiling like a Cheshire cat because he was rubbing his hands and thinking, "I'm loving this," and that's what he wants. He's a full-blooded front foot defender. He never backs out with 50-50. He's going to slam into the player. He stays on his feet as much as possible. He's a Mike Flynn type-esque player at times, isn't he? And let's be absolutely honest. It's amazing that he's only 20 years old, because, like I say, you think he's 30 years old. What this guy's going to be like when he's 25, 27, if he's not a captain of a team, he'll be gobsmacked.
Do you think he's better than Pi?
Different position, man.
One's right foot, one's left. Yeah.
You would have to say he probably is, at this moment in time, is better than Pi, because for his age, he's 2 years younger than Ethan. I think Ethan's now 22. Brad Hills, he's only 20. So, you probably would say that he is a little bit better. He's obviously, I think Ethan's got more games under his belt, EFL games under his belt. But same again, if you had them two in your club as your centre-back pairing, you've got, maybe a decade. If you can keep them happy at the same club and ambitious, you've probably got a decade of two players that will absolutely be your first names on a team sheet.
I'm sorry to bring up Man United, but it's like a Vidic Ferdinand type of partnership. You've got like the hard guy and the ball player sort of next to each other, and those sort of central defenders, when you're playing in a back four, that's exactly what you want, isn't it? That sort of slight differentiation between the two. One can drop or one can go and win the headers. The other one can drop and sort of read the game, and that's sort of what we would have if we had Brad Hills, but he's not our player. So, and I don't think Norwich would consider selling him. So,
I think Norwich have got big hopes for him, to be honest. And like I say, at 20 years old, you look at it, and like I say, we know that League Two last year he was more than comfortable. Accrington,
Accrington, yeah.
League One, he's just same again. Another too easy, isn't he, for at League One for him, really. For a 20-year-old, he just looks so comfortable.
Yeah. So should we get on to there weren't that many more chances, I don't think, up until we brought another couple of subs on. So Moxon on for Norwood, and then Benno on for Wootton. And yeah, I felt that changed the momentum a little bit in our favour for probably 10-15 minutes. Charlton finished the game stronger than us, which was frustrating. They could have actually won it in the end. But we had a good 10-minute period just after those subs. One being Noyle. He won a really good free kick, and their player got booked for it. Cross comes over, and Hills, I swear Hills. I mean, that ball was going in. That header that the keeper just sort of tipped off his head. He couldn't believe it. Like in the ground, like he had his head in his hands, thinking, "How on earth has the keeper stopped me from heading that in?" It was perfect.
Yeah, definitely. Hills was up in the air. He's made a jump. He's already, like you say, pulling his head back to smack it in the back of the net, and then the keeper comes out of nowhere and just puts a finger to it and tips it off his head. We started to look better for me when we started crossing the ball, and we banged this drum again. We're a crossing team, and we cross the ball, we get to the byline, we start looking a threat, we start winning corners. Unfortunately, all the corners were a dog, so that weren't much of a threat. But that we have to start crossing the ball, and like I say, that's what when we looked good, that's what we started doing. Just unfortunate that, like I say, we just lacked, even with Rydell, I just felt most of his crosses just lacked that quality that we know he has got on either foot. And we just, like I say, just missed it.
Should we talk about Benno's Paul Gascoigne moment? Not crying, but
that far.
Like a toenail away from.
If he hadn't cut his toenails last night, he'd have been all right.
For me, watching that, I mean, I don't know, but he just felt that he sort of went for the ball too early. If he got another half a stride in before he sort of left his feet to try and get a toe to it, I think he would have got the ball. I think he went a little bit, just like say, half a stride, a bit too early off his feet.
Would you have got it, Dan?
Oh, me, no chance. I'm still jogging at the halfway line. Never mind anything else. But just if you obviously not seen the highlights, just when you watch it, you just felt that if he just got another half a stride in on his running and then went for it, I think he might have just got it. Same again, fine margins. If the ball had curled back a little bit more, was it a shot by Collar or was it a cross? Same again. If sometimes when you see balls like that coming, they start, go towards goal, but then they sort of curl away from the goal and sort of straighten up a little bit. But it weren't. It was sort of diagonal and it was going straight, and it was always running away from him, unfortunately.
It was quite an unusual cross, if it was a cross, if you know what I mean. It's an odd place to put the ball, I think, obviously it almost worked in our favour, but you don't see many players play balls like that. It wasn't a regulation type of thing that you get trained. I wouldn't have said. But yeah, so that was, I think that was our final chance of the game, really, unless anyone can think of anything else.
Was pretty much it.
We had a few corners and free kicks. I think Rydell was the last ball that was put in, and he completely overhit it, and he didn't even bounce in the pitch. He just went straight out for a goal kick, and that just sort of summed it up for me. That whole game was just that lack of the final ball and quality that we know we've got. And like I say, and we've probably commented it before in previous games lately where we've shown that quality for 20, 30 minutes in games, not 90 minutes. And that's what's made us go and win the game. We didn't do that.
I think the big thing that this squad is missing is this penetrator position that Simon Wilson and Dave have talked about in the past. We've obviously got, we had Louis Barry, but he's not there. You got an out of form Jack Diamond. I don't even know if he's injured, but he didn't even make the match squad. Fevrier didn't make the match squad again, despite playing 45 minutes a couple of games ago. So he's coming back for an injury. Che Gardner's too young, so he disappeared. And then Micah Hamilton doesn't seem to be doing enough in training to warrant a place in the team or even on the bench either. So we don't have, we've got technically good footballers in Camps and Collar, and then obviously Bate and Norwood behind them. But in forward positions, apart from Tanto with his pace, we haven't got a penetrator, have we? Which is costing us, I think.
Like I say, on our WhatsApp group, I said, I think in the second half, this game set up for Hamilton to come on, and then you replied saying that he's not on the bench. which completely buggered the idea. But I just felt, like you say, players like Will Collar weren't having one of his best games. I thought glimpses of what he can do, but somebody, like you say, that penetrator that would run with the ball and offer something, a bit of a threat, or when you've got the ball and you run, it draws people towards you and creates space behind them. Like you say, like that sort of player. The other debate, obviously, for the game, Camps. At the moment, we all know he's a brilliant player, but he seems to be, when he comes off the bench as a substitute, when the game's getting stretched and players getting tired, he makes them runs and he doesn't get picked up and he has more of an effect. I think he doesn't seem to have that same effect on the game when he starts it. For me, when the game's a lot tighter and there's a lot less space, he has moments of quality, no doubt, but he's not as, like we've seen against what obviously Wigan and Blackpool. When he comes off the bench and the game's stretched, he can absolutely tear teams up.
Yeah, we were linked with a player from Chesterfield, weren't we, in the January transfer window? I've just been frantically trying to find his name, but I can't remember. Dobra. So I think he's a penetrator from what I've sort of read and seen. And so the scouting team and stuff, or the Dave and Simon must have identified that as a bit of a weakness. Do we think we are not going to get autos now? Looking at the table, so we're 6 points behind Wrexham and Wickham, and both played a game less than us. It's going to take some effort, isn't it, to recover those?
I think it's going to need another Charlie masterclass and a mad run of wins to get there. And if we do, brilliant. But if we're not, no harm done. I'm just happy to be where we are. Simple as that. Just
I agree.
Going along for the ride. Just loving it.
I mean, I would take getting in the playoffs, and let's face it. I mean, Huddersfield have lost 4 out of the last 5. They've sacked their manager.
Sacked the manager today, yeah.
Indeed, sacked the manager, so they may get a new manager bounce. But we're 4 points ahead of them. Played the same number of games, so fingers crossed they continue to toil. But I think it's probably going to be looking at it between Huddersfield getting in and one of us, probably Charlton or Bolton, dropping out.
So we've got, is it 10 games now left?
Yeah, 10.
10 games, and out of them 10 games, there's 4 teams that have already beaten us this season, which, in all fairness, I think we can go through the whole season without a team beating us home and away. So, and I don't know when the last time that actually happened in a county season, that no team beat us home and away. So yeah, I still think we've still got lots to play for. Is it Challinger's more than capable for going now to the end of the season unbeaten? So yeah, I think it's all there because we're going to play the teams around us, and I think next week suits us better, and Wrexham to a certain extent, because next week, with the away team, at times we are a better counter-attacking team. I know we were better when we had Louis Barry in the team as a counter-attacking team, but we are still a good, when you got Tanto and maybe Fevs will get back involved with his pace as well. We are a good counter-attacking team, and the other teams, Bolton and Wrexham, they are the home team. They are expected to go out and be the front foot team. So I think that might just suit us a little bit. It
is interesting how there aren't many teams that we've seen this season that have a player of Tanto's sort of skills. Okay, teams have sort of rapid wingers, but the rapid centre forward in League One, I think maybe apart from that Kone guy at Wickham, doesn't really seem to exist from what I've seen from when we've played all the other teams in the league. They're either like a big un or a little un who's like a bit of a fox in the box. So I think we've got a real unique sort of striker in Tanto in this league. How do we think he plays with Benno? Because I'm excited by that. I know we big Wotton up a lot, but he's not scored for 6-7 games now, I think. And I I like it when Tanto becomes the target man. We said it last week. When he becomes a target man, balls don't go as high; they go a little bit sort of lower down to him. And Benno seems to play really well off him. Dave, what do you think?
I think he's proper strong as well, and he's so difficult to get the ball off. But when he holds the ball up well, if you play the ball into him, his second touch is usually a tackle, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's just that little bit of quality. If he can add that to his game, it'd be even better. But yeah, he is a good lad. I like him, and he's difficult to get the ball off as well. Sometimes we don't seem to change the way they play too much when Tanto stays on if Wootton goes off, because although he probably won't get up and win as many headers as Woots does, the centre half can't usually get round him because of how strong he is. And I think that he tends to not have that wrestling match like what Woots does, because they just can't get round him because of how strong he is. Yeah. And that I like that about him.
I think the interesting thing
people in then.
I think the interesting thing with Tanto is that when he does, when the defender engages with him, he's also got the pace to then spin and then run off his defender. So if he can win the ball and knocks it to someone, he's already got like 2 or 3 yards on the defender. Kyle's not got that, so he'll win the ball, but he's not going to cause that sort of problem.
Yeah, for me, I've always said that Tanto reminds me so much of the old, like an Ian Wright or Clinton Morrison. He's happy with the ball at feet, running at defenders. He's happy with his back to the defender to turn them, spin them, try and win headers. He's, like you say, I think he's still a young lad. He's just... Is he at his level, or has he got another level? Can he, that's what we all want to know. Can Tanto go to another level and have that little bit more ruthlessness about his goal scoring that we haven't actually seen this season? That little bit of more quality in his touch, bit more cuteness, and a bit just that killer instinct of sort of taking on the shots, really. But he's, he's a menace. He's a threat, definitely. And like you say, I think he's like you say, can he get up to the next level? Will be the real question. It's like the same question for all the players, really. Are they at their level? People would argue like Toure or Maka, this is probably at their level. But obviously we want to get to the championship over the next 3 years. So we want players that can compete at the championship level. So, it'll be interesting.
Man of the match, guys. It was Hills in the ground. Dave, who was your man of the match?
I think I tend to agree with that, just purely and simply for that tackle.
Yeah, I think Hills won it on points.
He had a solid 12 game as well.
Over 12 rounds, he sort of seemed to win it on points, Hills. So
solid game.
That Leeburn guy's a bit of a handful. He kept him in his back pocket, I thought, which was...
He was a big fella in. Big
they made it, like I say, made the substitution in the first sort of 30 seconds of him coming on the pitch. He got splattered, didn't he? And he sort of ran around a little bit angry after that, and wanted to give Hills his 2 pennants worth all game. And like you said, Hills was just smiling and lapping it up. And obviously there was a little bit of something that was said at final whistle involving Hills, but I think it was just probably Hills smiling back at him, to be honest.
Cool. So there's no midweek game for us. Obviously this week there is an under 15 game. It's been advertised. EFL under 15 Floodlit Cup at EP. So semi-final, free to get in, and it's against Burton Albion. Yeah. So the boys, and they are boys, they beat Mansfield Town 4-0 in the quarterfinals. So
showing us up, aren't they? We can't seem to beat Mansfield.
That's true. Yeah. So
have they won a game since they beat us, Mansfield?
I don't think they have.
Since they won the Edgeley Cup and celebrated it like they've won the World Cup, and I don't think they've actually. They're sliding down that table, and the end of the season can't come quick enough for them.
Yeah, you are right, Dan. They've not won a game since the 4th of January, and that was when they beat us.
When they beat us, yeah.
Good. Okay, I'd love for them to go down, but yeah, they're on 41. So you know what? They are being sucked down, aren't they? In fairness, they're only 8 points off Burton.
Well,
so.
like I say, come 2 more weeks, it's and the run that is that the next 2 weeks is pivotal for all the divisions. There's a lot of Tuesday night games, I think, with the teams that have got the game in hand on Tuesday night. And the same, it's that period at the moment where we all seem to be playing each other at the top end of the table. So it's this time in 2 weeks' time when we've beaten Wrexham, that table can look completely different.
Yeah, and in fairness, massive game on the 15th, Saturday the 15th. So next Saturday, Wickham hosting Wrexham. So that could sort of decide maybe who finishes.
All playing up there, aren't they?
Yeah. Draw would be nice, but
it's just great, isn't it? How now that like Bolton start doing bits now that we're about to play him again. Another sort of new managers come in there, and now he's got them playing like world beaters. I saw something on Twitter this morning. Some Bolton fans saying his automatics out of our is it out of? I think he was kind of saying, is it like one of them
out of the
things
question?
Out of the question sort of thing. I was a bit like, what, really? Well, you never know. Football's a strange game.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's it. I think I'm done. Anyone got anything else to say?
No, roll on Saturday, another 12:30 kickoff.
Early doors again
to the toilet paper stadium, or whatever they call it.
Tough sheet.
Yeah. Well, that's the name of toilet paper, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought the tough sheet was that not Wigan?
No,
no,
that was Summit Bricks. Brick Stadium.
That's the J. Well, let's call it the Reebok and JJB.
Yeah, JJB in it. Yeah, that's messing about.
And Reebok for Bolton. That's how it for me. It's always been called.
I don't know whether anybody's going to that Charlie fan park thing either. That's I think there's been about 300 signed up to go to that as well.
Pre-game, I'm surprised because I think the last time we went to Chorley, didn't they run out of tickets, but they would only sell hospitality tickets to the county fans, which included a bacon roll, but they ended up charging an extra 20 quid or something for the privilege of it.
Some bacon, that then.
Yeah. But I must admit, they do get the best pies, butter pie at Chorley, so you can't complain too much, even though
they've got food on there, so I don't know.
What is it? A park and ride type thing? Is it?
I don't know. They put something on.
They've opened up the clubs for pre-match drinks.
They've got like a DJ on and food and drinks, like 3 bars open at 9 a.m. And I think me, Russ, and Dan and Ellis are going.
They've done it a lot this season, Chorley, for visiting fans, obviously to Bolton, and said, "Look, come to us first for your drinks."
Yeah.
Park your coach
free parking and all that. Yeah, I don't know how far away it is, but let's be honest, if it's that far, we'll have to get an Uber.
But it's the same, man. Another 12:30 kickoff. I'm confident actually. Being the away team, the pressure's on them, and I think it'd be a game where we might only have 30% possession and end up winning it 2-0. So.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed because we definitely need those 3 points. Cool, guys. Well, thank you for joining me, Dave, and as always, Dan. And we'll convene again next Sunday and do it all over again. See ya.
Bye. Take care, boys. See you in a bit.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Scarf Bagara War. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Remember, you can catch us every week on your favourite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. And a huge thank you to all of our Patreon members. Your contributions help keep the show running to bring the content you love. If you'd like to support the podcast and get access to exclusive special guest episodes, ad-free podcasts and a monthly giveaway, head over to patreon.com/the Scarf Bagara War. And don't forget to follow us on social media for updates, behind the scenes content and more. You can find us on X, Facebook and Instagram Instagram, all at County Podcast. Lastly, if you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review and share it with your fellow County fans. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Scarf Bagara War. Come on, County!